All right, boys and girls, welcome once again to the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast. It's your boy Armando. Great to be here again. Just a quick update. It is Sunday here today at the Bass Kayak and Beers household. I know this episode is going to record on Tuesday, but for me, it's Sunday and it's Sunday 6 a.m. The reason why I'm recording so early, and you're going to see me with a cup of coffee instead of by the way, good morning, gorgeous. That's what the coffee cup says. The reason why I'm starting with a cup of coffee, not a beer like I usually do, it's because I am recording with a great guest. And I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I know you will. I got Stian Slora. I think pronounced it correctly. He just won the Hobie World, and he is from Norwegian or Norway, I should say. And again, he won the Hobie Worlds. I keep saying the Hobie BOS. That's just the tournament here. But for the Hobie Worlds, he represented Norway, and he actually won the 3-day tournament. You know, it's kind of complicated when there's a 7-hour difference. So we actually settled on today, and for me, it's early in the morning. So yeah, that's why you got me. You're gonna see me sipping on some coffee instead of some beers. But anyways, I'm really excited to bring this episode. I know the Hobie Worlds Fishing Worlds has been delayed due to COVID for a couple of years now. It's finally back, and it is exciting to watch it on Instagram and Tourney X and seeing all those great anglers from around the world just come together. And you know what is pretty much for us the kayak fishing Olympics. Great group of guys and girls out there. I know Christian Fisher ended up in 6th place, and a couple of other people from the U.S. got into, I think, the top 10. I forgot all the names, and I do apologize about that. But anyways, this is going to be a great episode. Really excited to have Stian join us and make time from his busy schedule to join us on the podcast. Other than that, for myself, as I've told you, I've kept myself in check and put it out there that I'm starting to lose weight. I've gone from 212 when I started this to 201. So I've lost 12 pounds. I got another 5 or 10 to go. See if I can make it. But anyways, I appreciate you tuning into the podcast. And before we go to commercials, quick thank you to Douglas Rod. Check out douglasoutdoors.com to check out the full lineup of LRS, X Matrix, and award-winning fly fishing rods. So we'll go to a quick points commercial, and then we'll bring Stian in. Stian Slora. Did I say it right? Slora?
Yeah, pretty. It's close enough.
Pretty close for an American.
Yeah,
it's pretty close, right? How you doing, man?
Yeah, pretty good. Barely landed after the Worlds.
Oh yeah,
mentally. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Doesn't really get much bigger than this.
That is amazing. Again, congratulations. Before we dive into the tournament, I know most of my audience have probably never heard from you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Stian.
Yeah, so I've been kayak fishing for about five years now. Got my first kayak in 2017, and the whole reason I got into this whole kayak thing was, well, basically a lack of space. Didn't have room for a boat. Didn't even have a car to drag a boat. So I had this small Hyundai i08 or something, just really small car. Looked pretty stupid with a pro angler on the roof, but it worked. So yeah, that's where it all started. And well, my first kayak was actually a Jackson Big Rig paddle kayak. But after my first 22-pound pike in that, I pretty much understood that I needed a pedal kayak. I was trolling with 2 rods, and when you're paddling, it's pretty it gets pretty crazy when you hook into a fish like that on 1 rod. And yeah, I think it was over an hour just to untangle all the lines and all that stuff. So pretty quick got a upgrade to a used PA12 2012 model. Used that for a year, kept all the extra gear, and then upgraded to a 2019 PA12.
Nice. How do you like it
Mhm.
so far?
It's amazing. I mean, I've tried to attend a few competitions here in Norway, but there are no kayak competitions here. You have to compete in a two-man team by boat. And I'm like, hey, I can pay the entry fee for two people. It's okay, just let me compete. Nah, it's not fair. You're I'm like, okay, well, I guess I can see it because I feel like I fish more efficiently from a kayak than I do from a boat, because you can instantly control your position. You have your sonar right there in your face all the time, so you pretty much have total control. And it also makes me plan my trips a lot more than if I was going out in a boat, because you can't just jump to the other side of the lake in like 2 minutes. You have to really make a plan for your fishing.
Yeah, that's always a debate here in the U.S. Being that the kayak fishing's just starting, especially bass fishing and boat fishing has been so popular for I don't know 4 or 5 decades now. And I think kayak fishing, I've always said, makes you a better fisherman just because, like you said, first of all, you don't have that many distractions. Really at almost at the same level as the fish. You're right at literally
Yeah.
at the water level. Um, you don't have as much gadgets or motors or trolling motors. Well, some kayaks anglers do have trolling motors,
now
but
now they're pretty much the same as boats,
yeah,
but yeah.
yeah, they're pretty much the same. But yeah, it forces you to be focused and break down and just kind of like, yeah, this is my radius of where I can fish. I better figure out because I don't have
Yeah.
enough time to move from one side to
Yeah.
the lake to the other. How do
Yeah.
you qualify then for the Hobie Fishing World?
Well, that's a quite funny story actually. I won a competition here during the pandemic in Sweden, pretty big one, and well, this Worlds was supposed to be a few years back before
Yeah.
the when the pandemic arrived, and I hadn't really qualified yet. So it was only due to a last minute cancellation that I got a late invite the Thursday the week before.
Oh,
Uh,
really? Wow.
yeah. So I guess that was pretty much because well, I had a good ranking compared to other Norwegians. Not that much competition here, but yeah, either way, and I was pretty close. I mean, I only had like 2.5, 3 hours drive there. So I had an even shorter way to get there than the Swedish guys who were competing. So I guess that's why they chose me. Pretty lucky actually, mm, especially considering that I won the whole thing.
Yeah,
uh,
going in as a last minute cancellation and then winning everything. Had you fished at that lake before?
Only once, another competition earlier this year in May, where I got in ninth place, I think. But I caught the biggest pike of the event, 115 centimeters, which is I'm struggling to convert this into inches and foot and all that
Oh,
stuff.
don't
But
worry about it.
I think it's like 42 for the free, something like that, inches.
Awesome. So you said in there was last minute cancellations, and by ranking you got called. How was the ranking then? So I apologize, I kind of got lost there. So you said you have to qualify by fishing on boats, or like is there tournament kayak
Uh,
fishing
in
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 Norway?
Norway, yeah, but
Oh,
there's no
okay.
tournament kayak fishing here. So the competitions I compete in kayak is usually in Sweden.
Oh, in Sweden. Okay.
Mm.
So
And since
Norway doesn't. Go ahead.
yeah, so I guess we are like 2 or 3 Norwegians in total who do any competitions at all. So to be the highest ranked Norwegian is not really really that difficult. It's much tougher for an American to qualify for this
Yeah.
than it is for me.
So how has the sport grown like for you, like in the last few years? It's basically just a couple of handful of Norwegians just traveling to Sweden, and again, for those that are not familiar with that area, that's Scandinavia, right? And that's considered
Yeah.
Norway, Sweden, Finland, and those are the three countries, right? Considering
Denmark.
Scandinavia and Denmark,
Denmark.
correct? And Denmark,
Mm.
yeah. So it is you just have to drive there. You don't have to like take a ferry. And again, for those that are not familiar with, here from the US that are not familiar with the country layout, you basically it's just neighboring countries. You just drive from the region to Sweden.
Yeah.
And are the tournaments really like Hobie tournaments or just?
Yeah, the guys who throw these tournaments are Kayak Store, which is the official dealer of Hobie in Sweden.
Oh, okay, nice. And how many tournaments do you fish a year?
Well, during the pandemic, there was a lot of these online tournaments. Same principle, just you pick your own lakes. Usually, well, during the pandemic, there were a series of 4 of these. It was called the Kayak Store Tour, which were 4 events. Most of them were these online events because of the pandemic. It wasn't possible to meet up and all that. And it was that year 2020 when I won one of the online events. Got on 4th on the second online event, and then one of the physical events I couldn't show up for because of sickness in the family, and then I won the last physical event. So that was basically what put me in a position for a possible qualification for this Worlds. But then again, that shouldn't have been until for next Worlds again. So because of the delay.
Yeah, and I mean, I know in your area, winter is cold and long. How many month of year do you actually get to go kayak fishing?
Usually it starts in middle of March somewhere. The rivers are possible to fish around then, all the way up to middle November. Sometimes even longer. 2019 was a really good year because it was so high temperatures. There never was any ice on the lake. That's
Oh,
actually
really?
when I caught my PB perch of 1.9 kilos. I'll leave it to you to do the math to convert that to pounds, but a pretty solid fish at least. And that was in January from Kayak. Usually there's
Nice.
like several inches of ice at that time of the year.
Well, that's awesome. You got to at least that year, 2019, you said?
Yeah.
That was nice. Once you qualified for the Hobie Fishing Worlds, now in that tournament, you were allowed, the setup was 2 pikes and 3 perch. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So how many days of pre-fishing did you actually get to do before this tournament started?
Well, there were 2 days of pre-fish officially. It was closed for almost 2 months before that, I think, to do pre-fishing. I didn't really set myself that much into the rules of pre-fish and all that since I didn't I didn't know I was attending until the very last minute. So I wouldn't have any time to do any more pre-fishing either way. But yeah, I was, like I said, I was there in May as well on tournament and struggled big time. We had 1 day pre-fishing and 2 days competition then. I was in contact with 1 pike on the pre-fish and the first tournament day. I found a perch, but pikes were nowhere to be found. Now, however, it's much warmer in the water. All the grass has come up and created a lot of new spots for the pike. In the tournament in May, I was like, after day 1, I only had filled my card on perch. Then we were supposed to have 3 pikes and 3 perch each day. Only filled my card on perch, was sitting on mid-table after day 1. I figured, it's not possible for me to win this. So I'm just going to do what I normally do, go for 1 big fish. So I went way out in the open on a shallow reef, I guess you can call it, rocky reef. which usually is that kind of spot I fish back home. And made a stop on the way out there, a spot that I know hold a lot of small perch, just to fill up my card. 3 cast, 3 perch, that's it. Continued down to the spot. And there I really hit jackpot there with a 80 plus pike, 79, and then 115 centimeter pike.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Which then increased my position up to 9th in total, and big fish points.
Nice. When the tournament, when you got announced that you were going to attend this tournament, how confident were you that, were you just like, I'll see what happens? What were your expectations? Would you ever thought, okay, I'm really going to win this, I'm confident in myself? Or were you more like, well, I just got invited, so I didn't know, so I'll just enjoy it? What was your mental aspect?
Well, I think it was a little bit to my advantage, actually, that it came in the last minute, because I was a complete underdog. Nobody would see me as a threat, right? So I just went there with my main objective was to get to meet up with all the best kayak anglers from all over the world, learn a little bit about their fishing, and meet new people. That was my main target with the whole thing. But of course, I made a plan. I usually, when I'm not a tournament angler to begin with, I usually go for one big fish. That's usually what I do when I'm out fishing. But when I do competition like this, I usually think back to when I started fishing, because then I was just out for catching fish, right? And that's what this whole thing is about. Fill your card to catch the most fish you can. And then I fished pretty similar spots as I did during this tournaments, grass beds, and these sort of spots. And that's what I plan to do. Just fill up my card. That's the most important thing. If you fail to fill your card one day, it doesn't matter if you catch a big fish, because I mean, if you lack a 70 centimeter pike, that's 70 centimeters, right, in total. You can make that up by catching a 110. So my main target was just to fill my card, and see how it goes. So I went into the same area on both pre-fish days. It's a huge bay area with which are sheltered with a couple larger islands and then a bunch of smaller islands in between. Usually pretty shallow, 3-4 meters at most. And tons of these grass beds. So my game plan was just to find out which of these grass beds that actually hold fish, and just hit them until I had a contact and leave it for the competition. My spots that I discovered on pre-fishing, they didn't work at all on the first tournament day, so I actually panicked a little. But I mean, there's plenty of grass beds there, and from what I've heard about this lake is that cast one grass bed, 3-4 casts, you don't feel anything, move on to the next grass bed, because you'll feel the activity straight away if they're active in that particular grass bed. So it was just pretty much running and gunning all the time.
Yeah, it's a technique that I know a lot of anglers. It's always a debate whether you stay and break it down and wait till they get active, or just keep moving. But obviously, it worked for you. Going into after day one, what place were you sitting on? Were you like in the top, the middle, or towards the bottom?
After day one, I was sitting in 5th place, because I managed to fill my card, but I didn't have any size on the fish. They were under 70, all of them, I think, all the pikes. No big purchase either. But as I thought on before, it would be enough just to fill your card to get you in a good position here. because this lake can be really tough. I mean, it's such a huge lake, so many potentially hot spots, and only a few of them holds fish. So you can search and search, and yeah, it's a tough lake. And what I did on the last day that worked, going out on the deep, I tried that spot, on same spot on pre-fish. Didn't hold a single fish. Usually in summertime, those big pikes who are out on the deeper water aren't as active, because they hunt bait fish that are more active when it's cold in the water. But the pikes who are in the base, they hunt fish who are highly active when it's warm in the water. So then their activity level tends to rise as well. So that was the safest bet. So I pretty much stuck inside the base for the whole tournament.
And going into day 2, how did day 2 shaped out for you? Did it automatically click, or was there kind of like day 1 where you struggled at first and then try to like change tactics?
Well, what I did all the days was I usually go for perch in the morning, because the morning bites for perch usually are the best. So that's what I did all days. Started out with perch a little bit deeper on a spot on the way down to that bay where I was gonna fish for pike. But on this second day, I discovered that there were a bit bigger perch actually hunting in the grass as well in the base. So I pretty much used smaller shadow baits and spinner baits, smaller soft plastics, to have the possibility to catch both decent perch and pikes at the same time, because I figured they were both actually on the very same spot. And quickly filled my cart actually on day 2. So I moved to another spot where I'd actually seen a couple bigger fish on pre-fish, and it was just crazy there. Caught a 91 and a high 70, and all my pikes that day were over 70, which the day before I didn't manage to get over 70. So, and also the moon phase had turned, so I think that played a part as well in the increased activity level of the pikes.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I actually had 2 of my fish denied on day 2. I had really good fishing on day 2 actually, but every time they sent me a message that my fish were denied, I had an upgrade in my lap already, so it didn't really matter as much.
Why were the fish denied?
Really good. One of the perch were denied because it was it was the same fish as I had reported in earlier, because I had like a bonanza where I caught like several perch at a short amount of time on the very same spot, and all of them were practically the same size. So I guess I set the same picture in twice instead of sending one of the other pictures. So
I see.
that's my bad. One of the pikes were denied because of a bad photo, I guess. Sunlight, some shade that made it impossible to see if the nose touched the end of the board or something.
Oh, okay. And what place were you sitting after day 2?
That put me up in second place. First place, Florian, the guy who held first place after both day 1 and day 2, he caught an amazing fish of 115 on day 2. And also my friend Felix from Sweden caught a massive fish of 119. So it was clearly the pikes were on day 2. 2 of the biggest pikes during both pre-fish and competition were caught that day. So something happened.
Yeah,
the fish and pikes were really on that day.
That's amazing. And like you mentioned, there's so much that goes into it. Moon phase, it affects the fish. Some days they're just gonna be biting on everything and anything and everything, and other days they're just not gonna be biting on nothing at all, and you have to like really work your baits and kind of slow down your retrieval. Going into day 3, how confident were you that you can win this? At this point, when after day 2, did you feel like, okay, I think I can win it, I'm confident? What were your mind? What was your mind
Well,
once you launch it day 3?
well, day 3 is when all the craziness comes into play. It's just ridiculous. Florian, the guy who was holding the first place going into day 3, he had a pretty solid lead with 30 centimeters, which is an average perch down to me. And I had actually a pretty solid lead over third as well. But something had changed today. There were absolutely no wind at all, which I expected would turn the pikes off. Usually it does. They need a roof over their head to become active. And in such clear water as well, it made it really tough. But my first perch of the day were almost 40 centimeters, which is my biggest perch of the tournament. So that really gave me confidence. That was within 5 minutes on the first spot. But then I struggled to catch my second perch, which was barely approved. And it took way too much time to fill up on perch. So I was like, okay, screw this. I'll go into the grass straight away because I know there are perch in the area there as well. So just because time's running out. Quickly got a 62 pike there, which is okay. My main goal was just the only thing I basically had to do was fill my card that day, and I would secure my second place. I felt like the first place spot was. I know Florian. I've competed against him a couple times, and I know he's a solid fisherman. So it would take him not filling his card for me to win, basically, or I had to catch a giant. And under those circumstances, I didn't really think that was gonna happen. So I was really going in to just secure my second place. In the grass there, after I caught a 62 pike, I caught a few more decent perch and had my most solid card on perch on the final day. And I had a few followers of pike as well and a couple contacts. So I was like, okay, pikes are obviously a little bit active, so I'll move on to my pike spot. One spot that I had a 1 meter plus pike following 3 times on day 1, which I had left for the final day. Quickly had 3 contacts there in like 4 or 5 casts, lost all of them, and after that it completely died off on me. Couldn't catch a pike. I tried all the spots that I delivered fish on the previous days, but nothing, not a follower, nothing. And my first alarm sets off that I have. If I go in now, I'll have like 15 minutes margin of making it in time. I had like 1 hour, 15 minutes something to pedal back. I was like, okay, there's this small shallow bay on the way there that usually holds a lot of small pikes. I'll give that 5 minutes on the way back in just to get that final pike on the board, because after they turned off the scoreboard and it went dark, I had dropped down to third place because I still didn't have my final pike on the board. Got to that final small bay on the way back and just flipped out a jackhammer with a little 10 centimeter 4-inch trailer jig, and it just stopped. And I pretty fast understood that it was a big fish. And lucky for me, Eric Siddiqui was pedaling by just casually, and I yelled him over, and he came over and caught the whole thing on camera. And I was pretty sure that even in those clear lakes, that clear water, the fish looks huge, right? It's like a magnifying glass. I was like, oh shit, that's a 120. And I mean, the nets that we got, they're not really designed for that kind of fish. I struggled just getting the 91 in there on day 2. So I was like, no way I'm gonna risk it with that small net on this fish. So I actually hand landed it. Pretty nerve wracking. It did several outbursts, and the fight felt like it took forever. And it was also barely hooked in the lip with a single hook. So it was pretty nerve wracking. And when I finally hand landed that fish, I mean, I can't describe that feeling. It's just ridiculous. And at the same time as I hand land the fish, my alarm that says now you have to go back unless you're not going to make it in time sets off. You can actually hear it in the clip as well. I mean, it doesn't get more. It's like all stars aligned. It was meant to be to catch that fish in the very, very, very last second. It's just that just doesn't happen. I mean, I remember I was like, "What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be a 60 centimeter fish. What's this?" it was 111 centimeters. And
That is good.
yeah,
Sorry.
it's just ridiculous, really.
It's funny because when you mentioned that is you get that little big fish, right? In this case, a pike, and just barely hooked on the lip, and you're trying. I've always say that that's where even an atheist turns into a religious person
Yeah,
because you just praying to God that please don't let it get
that
off,
that's
don't let it get
exactly
off.
what that's exactly what I said there, Eric, as well. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that makes you religious. This is just not supposed to happen. I mean, it's unreal, really.
So when you got that big, you took the picture, you submitted it. At
I
that
mean,
point, did you
it
believe
went
you won it?
so. I didn't dare to believe it. I thought Florian had such a good distance on me, and I mean it had gone dark for 1.5 hours already, so he might have caught an even bigger fish. He's that kind of fisherman, you know. So I didn't dare to think that I had won it, but at least I was thinking I might have saved my second place spot by a pretty good margin. I mean that fish just behaved so perfectly as well after I grabbed it. No bullshit, no nothing. It just lay down perfectly on the measuring board, allowed me to take a photo, and just gently released it again. And it swam calmly back into the water. It was just yeah, it, everything was just perfect. It's yeah.
When did you actually find out that you won it? Was it just when they announced it, or had you had conversations already with the other competitor in Florian that said like, "Yeah, no, you won it," or
Yeah, we well, when they shut off the scoreboard, you can still see your own total tally of. You can still see your own score.
Mm.
So the first thing me and Florian did when I got back in was to compare the score. But even then, I didn't dare to really take the celebrations. Because yeah, there might be a bug in the system or yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. So I didn't really dare to believe it yet, but that's when the feelings first started to hit me. Yeah, that I might actually have managed to pull this off.
I remember when last year Christine Fisher won the TLC Tournament of Champions. Before she won it, just catching her 15th fish, a 3-day tournament, so her last fish to complete. It was just an outpour of emotion. Was just crying. She was just bent over crying. Just even though she didn't know if she won it already, but it was just that that stress for 3 days trying to catch five fish, 15 fish total. What was it for you? I mean, you didn't know if you had won it at that point, but what was the feeling when you're like, I got my last fish, especially considering like I got it at the very last absolute second. What was your outpour of emotions? Were you just like relieved? What were you feeling at that point?
I mean, I'm not like Christine, who's used to these tournament settings and this whole thing. So, um, I mean, was probably my I haven't attended 10 tournaments even. So, I mean, I uh, I couldn't cry. I couldn't do anything. It was just hard to I can't describe it in any way. It was just or probably I couldn't cry because I was so dehydrated from fishing for 5 days straight. But yeah, I mean it was yeah. I didn't cry. I didn't do anything really. I was just empty.
Stunned.
Yeah, shocked. I mean I couldn't believe that this just happened. It's yeah, it actually made me almost religious. It's just it's just crazy. Uh, I'm still struggling to put words on it, and I still really haven't quite understood that I've managed to win a world champion in something. No, it's gonna take a while, I think.
Did you ever, when you started kayak fishing and doing tournament fishing, was this ever a goal for you, or was this, you mentioned like you got entered at the last minute due to somebody not showing up or couldn't make it, to fill in a spot, right? Like there was a spot empty, so they called you, hey, you're next online, can you make it? Um, but was this ever when you started doing tournaments and found out about the Hobie Worlds and all that before you even knew you qualified? Was this ever a goal for you, or was this something that it's like, oh, I qualified, well, might as go, well, go, and see what happens? Or did you
Of
ever
course it
dream that you could
was.
do this? Yeah.
Of course it was. I mean, after my first tournament, where that was actually when Florian qualified for this one in 2019. That was my first tournament ever. I got in fourth place then, and he won it. And when I understood, when I saw the whole setting and how big it was for him to qualify for this and what it meant, then that really piqued my interest. I mean, this is what I am most passionate about, kayak fishing. And in this game, it doesn't get much bigger than to be able to represent your flag in a tournament like this. It doesn't get bigger. So of course that was, and I mean I have all the fishing gear I need. I have all everything I need. So what I was aiming for with later tournaments was just to get a chance at this, to attend the worlds, to meet up with all the best kayak anglers there is, create new friendships, and just enjoy representing my country in something. It's pretty huge, and it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity. So and I talked to a lot of the guys from one of the guys from Hobie at the previous tournament. I was like, okay, if you could win a Hobie Links if you won the tournament in May. But I said, that yeah, would be nice, of course. But the main goal, the main reason I'm here is to win that spot in the Worlds. That's what I would like the most.
And now looking back at it, where does this rank as, your father, and I'm sure that's at the top, if not the top, just, having your family and all that. But going down the list of things that you've accomplished in your life, how does this rank?
Well, if you ask my wife, it's the second biggest after our marriage. But yeah, it's up there. It's pretty huge. Yeah, it's it's awesome. And to now get the chance to do it again next year is it's amazing. Can't wait.
So okay, so I have to ask you, what's the amount, like what did you actually win as far as money value? What did you win in your kayak? What was the payout structure like?
Well, the payout structure, well, it's pretty huge compared to what I've won before. It was $3,500, but I mean, this kind of competition, I feel like there's more of the title. It weighs much heavier than everything else. So I guess winning the Hobie BOS would give a much bigger payout because over in the States, I mean, it's there's so much more money in the business over there, right? So it makes sense that way. And that's not really what I did this for. What made me happy was to actually put Norway on the map in the kayak fishing world, because it's not really that big here. I think we're like 10 people who do this on a regular basis at a serious level. So to actually have a Norwegian winning the worlds is pretty huge. Yeah, and I feel that's what gives me the most joy about this, to put Norway on the map in kayak fishing world.
As far as locally on the media side, have you gotten any media attention, like news media or any from the region, just saying, "Hey, we have the world champion for kayak fishing is Norwegian"? Have you gotten that type of attention? Or it's more like,
A little bit. Some local newspapers have been in contact, and some fishing magazines and so on. But at the national level, no. But then again, I haven't reached out to them, and there's no way of them knowing that this even happened, because it's not. When I talk to people, they didn't even know this existed, right? Kayak fishing. So yeah, I didn't really expect any media attention about this either way. So yeah.
now that you're the world champion of kayak fishing, what's going to keep you hungry from, you've accomplished the highest peak in kayak fishing. What is there next for you? Something's got to
Well, of
keep you hungry,
course.
right? Doing it
Well, of
again.
course, some I have. You could say I have a little bit of advantage because I'm used to fishing for pike and perch, unlike a lot of the contestants in this hobby world. So now I'm just eager to show that can I can catch other species as well. So I'm just eager to attend the next worlds and kick ass there as well.
What where is going to be the next world? Because I'm assuming it's going to change
Yeah,
every. Is it a yearly thing, right? It's not like the Olympics where
yeah.
it's 4 years. It's just yearly, right? Have they announced already when it's going to be the next one?
No, they haven't. But it's the 10. Well, this is nobody's told me this. This is just my own guessing. Since it's the 10-year anniversary, I have a small feeling it's going to be over where you're at in the US, because that's where Hobie originates from.
No.
So that's what my gut tells me.
So for travel, I know you're from, you're from that area of the world. So for you, you just drove your kayak there, right? I know. I don't know how it works. I'm assuming for those that like from the United States, Australia, their kayak was provided there, right?
All kayak anglers kayaks were provided, because every contestant was supposed to have the same
Okay.
same rig, same gear, same everything. The only thing you could bring yourself were your rods, reels, and tackle. So all the kayaks were Hobie PA 14s, 360s with
Oh wow.
Lawrence Lee TIFS 7, and the power pole and an H crate. That's pretty much it.
Nice.
Hmm.
So how did that 360 feel? Have you gotten a 360 before, or is this the first time using a 360?
No, it was the first time. Took some getting used to. Well, now I'm used to pulling a strap when you're gonna go reverse. Now now that wasn't there, so it took a couple days before I realized it wasn't there. But this lake is so huge, and it doesn't take much wind to create a lot of waves, and to hold your position in these waves and this wind, the 360 were just gold. So if I didn't win the kayak, sadly, but it
That would have been nice, right?
yeah, it would be nice. But now I have to buy one.
Yeah.
Those 360s are really good, especially
Nice.
in these windy conditions. And up here, it's windy all the time, so game changer.
Do you usually, when you're out fishing, just for yourself, not competing, you're out there just enjoying your day? Do you usually go for pike and perch, or what's your favorite type of fishing that you do over there?
Well, from when I was starting fishing, it was pike mainly. It's only the past 3 seasons I've gotten more into perch fishing, which the past 3 years it's been mainly perch actually, because I caught a massive pike back in 2018. And after that, I was like, okay, there's no way beating this.
Yeah.
So I needed some new motivation and picked up perch fishing.
Do you do? Is there bass over there in your area? I would have
Sadly,
maybe.
no. There are some rumors of a couple ponds where it's been released black bass. I've never been there trying myself. I guess the closest to us where you can find bass would be down in Italy and further south, Spain, Portugal.
Oh, nice. Have you gone for muskie? Is there muskie fishing where you live? Um,
No,
oh, there's no muskie
sadly,
over there. Okay,
no.
nice,
And northern pikes are the top predators here.
nice,
Mm.
interesting. I would thought that there would be muskies in that area too, but I don't
Yeah,
even kind of.
I mean, it's pretty similar nature and climate here as in
Yeah.
Canada. So I guess you would assume that we pretty much have the same species, but sadly we don't. I would have loved to have huge lake trouts and sturgeons and muskies and bass and all that. Would be awesome.
Other than that, in Scandinavia, where have you gone kayak fishing? Have you traveled to other parts of the world or Europe to do kayak fishing?
No, actually, I haven't been outside of Sweden or Norway kayak fishing yet. One of my biggest dream is to go to Canada. Actually, bit rough bringing your own kayak over there, but
Yeah.
at least just go over there and do some fishing. Because I mean, Canada has every species I can imagine wanting to catch in freshwater. So that's probably my dream destination.
Any specific lakes in Canada that you want to go?
No, not really. I would probably venture. Well, that's one of the things I love about car fishing is that I get away from people,
Yeah.
get out into the woods where there's nobody else, and just. So I'd probably find a local guy, get the plane out into the wilderness, and just me and the bears. That's probably what I would do.
What do you love most about kayak fishing other than catching fish? But is there anything else that you like when you're not catching fish that you feel like, even though I'm not catching, I'm enjoying this part of kayak of the sport? Anything else?
Well, you get a whole different perspective of the nature when you're out in a kayak. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no engines, no nothing. It's just silence, and you can sneak up on wildlife
Yeah.
fairly easily. It's a complete different contact with nature, which really elevates the whole experience of fishing.
And for those that have never been to, again, Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden, I visited Gothenburg. I think that's how you
Yeah,
pronounce it, right, in Sweden, and forgot the name of that island. Visigno.
outside of Gothenburg.
Yeah, close to it. It's an
Okay.
island. I remember. I think the island has this huge wooden statue of a giant holding something. It was just like holding like ground. It's not ground. It's just holding pieces of wood. And the legend was that this giant built this island in the middle of the lake, and it's a beautiful area. It's in, I think it's forgot the writer. It's where the writer of that stories. What was the name? Pippi Longstocking, something like that. What's the name?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Astrid Lindgren is her name,
Yes,
the writer.
that's it. Yeah, so that's where she
Yeah,
lived. That area. It's
yeah,
somewhere. It's a beautiful. But anyways, the point that I was going on is just like I
Marstrand.
actually I visited that area of the country and I went on a canoe. I didn't go fishing. I just went on a canoe and it's breathtaking. I live in Texas. I don't see mountains unless I'm driving for 12 hours. I have
Yeah,
no mountains near me. I love Texas, but it's not the beauty that North Scandinavia has. And I've gone there on canoes and visited those lakes, and it's breathtaking beauty
yeah,
that you're privileged to live on. So yeah, and I can imagine just being on a kayak fishing. You just kind of get lost in all
yeah.
the landscape and the wildlife.
Well, I mean, this freshwater predatory fishing is extremely small here in Norway. I think it's maybe 100 people maximum who does that, like perch and pike. Usually there are trout fishermen and saltwater fishing for halibut and cod and goldfish, so on, which is huge here in Norway. I mean,
Yeah.
that it's actually pretty stupid. I haven't done it yet. Going up north with my kayak to pull up some big halibut. Yeah, that's also up there on the list.
And even kayak and canoeing is just a big sport itself. And I remember Stockholm, it's big on doing like kayak tours and not just not I don't think it's necessarily fishing, but just like researching when I went to Sweden. One of the things that I wanted to do didn't get a chance of, but it was just like kayaking through the coast of Stockholm. I guess
Yeah,
it's pure beautiful. And if I remember correctly, when you look at the Olympic sports, most of those like sports that are like rowing, they're mostly dominated by people from the Scandinavia area, if I
yeah.
remember correctly. So it's
There's a
big over there.
bunch of these. There's a bunch of these kayaking clubs and stuff here in Norway as well. There are some badasses who paddles from Oslo all the way up to Tromsø, which is the basically the entire coastline of Norway.
Yeah.
That can be pretty rough, but also it's an amazing trip. I've only gone there by boat once, but to do it by kayak, that would be pretty crazy.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Um, Stian, I've had you almost for an hour, and I know you're taking care of your son right now. You have how many kids do you have, by the way? Just one?
No, I just have one daughter actually.
Oh, daughter. I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
apologize about that. So how old is she?
she's 2.
Oh, 2 years old.
Hmm.
Congratulations. Plans of
Born in the
having more
middle of
kids?
the pandemic. Well, you never know.
Yeah, I know a lot of babies were born in the middle of the pandemic here in the United States as well. I'm sure in other parts of the country too.
Yep.
Not a lot of time with the wife and the girlfriend when
Uh,
you're
I mean,
in
there's not much
isolation.
else to do, right?
Well, Stian, like I said, I've had you for over an hour. I do wanted to give you a chance to talk a little bit about I don't know if you have sponsors. I know it's not a big sport over there, but I do know you make your own lures, correct? So tell us a little bit about that. And if you want to take a few minutes to thank anybody you want to thank for helping you kayak fish, and go ahead.
Yeah, well, if there's one company I should give an extra thank you for is Kayak Store, the distributor of Hobie in Sweden, who has which I'm now an ambassador for. Making, I mean, they have everything you could imagine putting on a kayak in one spot, and a super service has always backed me up when my drive is broken, and they're just amazing and make it possible for me to do my fishing. Yeah, guess that's pretty much it. Yes, I do make my own baits, mostly soft plastics. They were actually a huge part of me, my position in this competition as well. I mean, the final fish was on a shadow bait, but the trailer was my own. So I have a bunch of different models, but this is a little bit bigger one.
Oh wow, that is a big bait.
Nah, not really. I have a much bigger.
Oh yeah,
This is a decent all-rounder for pike, I would say.
nice.
Usually we use quite pretty much the same gear and setup as musky fishermen do. Here in Norway and Sweden, we take a lot of inspiration from the US and bass fishing and musky fishing when it comes to our pike fishing and perch fishing. For perch fishing, we use pretty much all the same techniques: Ned rig, Tokyo's, Texas, Carolina, etc. Drop shot. It's all pretty much the same. Shadow baits has really made an impact the past couple of years. So we do basically the same things. We're just maybe a year or two behind.
How does it feel that? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I guess it wouldn't be too difficult for an American to come over here and fish for these species, because it's pretty similar actually, from what I understand. I've never fished for bass myself, so I shouldn't speak too much about it. But I mean, all our techniques and inspiration we have gotten from bass fishing. So
yeah, and I think they did pretty good, the Americans over there.
yeah.
I know Christine Fishman, and she usually loves fishing for muskie, and so even though she doesn't, from what I've seen, and I can't completely speak to what she does more of, but I know where she's from. There's she's more familiar with the pike and perch than probably most bass fishermen. It's really a southern sport in the United States, where it's just where you can only
Yeah.
get bass. Not a lot of places have perch or pike.
I mean, she got got the point of what the fishing was all about here straight away. Hitting the grass, running and gunning, shadow baits, spinner baits. So she hit the nail on straight on the head right away. That's pretty similar to what I've seen her done in bass fishing tournaments as well. So clearly this was nothing new to her. She knew what she was doing.
Yeah, I think one of her biggest strengths is able to adapt. She's very good at adapting to different bodies of water and different species, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, she pulled off a top 5 position. She was came in 5th place in total, and to do that on the other side of the world, first time you're there, I mean, it's huge respect for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did Ryan Lambert behave? Did he embarrass us? We love Ryan Lambert. We're just messing with him. I'm sure he got it. I'm sure everybody noticed he was there.
Yeah, no comment. No, I mean, it was great. I mean, well, I got pretty much confirmed what the impression I had in general of Americans.
Keep in mind, he's from Tennessee. Okay, no.
pretty loud, but they're all good.
Nah, they're all good people.
Yeah,
just tongue-in-cheek joking about
but
that. But yeah,
it's quite easy to notice that it's an American in the room.
Yeah, they're pretty loud.
Yeah,
but
I mean, they were great, all of them, and I quite enjoyed the raffle they had at the beginning of each day, pushing each other into the walls and trying to get each other off tracks. I mean, there was a huge battle between the Australians and Americans there. I just stayed in the back having a laugh. It was awesome.
I've been to Australia. Australians can be very Americans too. They can be
Yeah,
loud
I mean,
as well.
I couldn't tell the difference if there wasn't a different flag on their kayak. Pretty similar, yeah.
I've been to Australia, and I formerly lived in Puerto Rico, right? So I used to go to Bali, Indonesia, to go surfing. And man, Australians were just as loud as it can be. I mean,
Yeah.
they would love to do prank. They would love to. It was just like, there was an Australian right from the beginning. They're loud, and they love to prank. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a good battle.
And when an American noticed that they were loud, I mean, then it's really
Oh
loud.
yeah, especially somebody like Ryan Lambert.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be the quiet one in the group. I can guarantee you. We'll make sure he's gonna loud as fun. But again, it's all jokes. We love Ryan Lambert here.
Oh yeah, they were great guys, all of them. So really nice having the opportunity to meet them, and they're pretty decent anglers as well, I think. So yeah.
Well, Stian, again, thank you so much for joining us. I've had you for an hour, and I know you got daddy duties today, so I'll leave you to that. And again, congratulations on your big win, biggest win you can ask right now in kayak fishing. We look forward to what your progression as an angler, and if you're ever here in the United States, whether for Hobie Worlds or whatever reason, we'd love to love to see what you do here with bass. Get you on some big bass.
Yeah, for sure. That's I really hope that it will be on the other side of the pond next year. That would be awesome. Finally catch some bass.
Definitely.
Not only watching them on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. And for those out there listening, if you made it this far, thank you for listening to us. And remember, go check out our sponsor, Douglas Outdoors. Go to douglasoutdoors.com. If you're going to be on the water, wear your PFDs. If you're going to have a couple of beers or any alcoholic drink, please drink responsibly. Make sure you make it back to your loved ones. Have a great day, everyone.